What is going on, guys? Alex here from Dough Off the Hook Bakes. Today we've got a recipe for a beautiful little cinnamon and raisin sourdough with a swirl of cinnamon sugar through the centre. So let's kick it off. So first off, we're going to chuck in 280 grams of water into our mixer bowl. Follow that with 340 grams of strong white bread flour and 40 grams of rye flour. Then we're just going to give that a quick mix up so all the flour and water is incorporated, and we're going to leave that for 1 hour. Whilst that's all going on, chuck 100 grams of raisins in a bowl with your favourite tea bag. This is Earl Grey. Cover that with boiling water and leave that for about half an hour to let those raisins plump up. Then we're just going to drain them off, set them aside for later. After 1 hour, I'm going to add in 75 grams of active starter to my dough. Give that a quick mix to incorporate. Then I'm going to add in 9 grams of sea salt and 5 grams of mixed spice. Give that a really good mix up for about 8 to 10 minutes. I'm just going to show you the dough in the bowl now. You'll see it's all coming together into a nice sort of uniform ball. Then I'm going to turn that off and do a quick window pane test. Yeah, that's looking good now. Now we're just going to get the dough out of the mixer. If you wet your hands, just pull it all off the hook. Makes it a lot easier, doesn't stick. So just getting the dough out of the bowl now. I'm just going to very lightly oil the container and then dump the dough straight from the mixer bowl. And now we're going to begin our bulk fermentation. I'm going to add in the raisins, lightly wet my hand and just kind of stretch the dough over the raisins. You have to really get involved with this one. To get those raisins really incorporated in the dough, just keep working it, kind of pick it up, stretch it, fold it over each other. Yeah, that's all looking pretty good now. We're nearly there. It's a couple of minutes most. Bring it all together into a nice, tight, uniform ball. And then we're going to leave that in the container for 45 minutes. Just pop the lid on. So after 45 minutes, we're going to give it a quick stretch and fold. As you can see, it's kind of spread out across the bottom of the container. Just wet your hand. Lift up the dough, stretch as far as you can and flip it over each other. Just do this 2 or 3 times. Then I'm just going to pick it up and kind of fold it under each other. Pick it together with your hands. And then we're going to go ahead and leave this for another 45 minutes. So after the next 45 minutes, it's actually looking really good. You see it hasn't spread out anywhere near as much as it did the first time, so the dough's really strong. This is a really good sign. I'm not being anywhere near as aggressive as I was the first time. I'm just kind of gently picking it up, folding it under each other, and getting it back into a uniform ball inside. I haven't needed to do an aggressive stretch and fold on this one because the dough was really strong. I'm not going to do any more stretch and folds or coil folds at this point. I'm just going to pop a lid on and leave this for 2 hours. After 2 hours, we're just going to dump the dough onto the worktop and then start our pre-shape. So gently push away with your bench scraper and then pull back towards you. You see it's all coming into a tight uniform ball. Just give it a little sprinkle of flour and then leave that for 20 or 30 minutes. While that's resting, we're going to make our cinnamon sugar. So just 30 grams of brown sugar, any brown sugar you can use, and about 5 grams of cinnamon. Just give that a good mix up. We're going to incorporate this into the dough when we do our final shaping. So now for the final shape, I'm just going to flip our dough over onto the floured side, lightly flour the work surface. Just going to prepare the banneton. I'm going to sprinkle it pretty liberally with rice flour. This just makes sure the dough doesn't stick. It's quite a sticky dough because of all the raisins and sugar, etc. So this is important. Then on to the final shape. We're just going to pull it into a rough rectangle shape. Be careful with it, you don't want to degas the dough. Then once it's a rough rectangle, we're going to go ahead and sprinkle it quite liberally with all that cinnamon sugar that we made earlier. You'll probably have a bit left over so you can use it for the next dough. So just nicely get that cinnamon sugar all over the dough. Just gently pat it with your hands just to make sure it's all stuck. And then we're going to fold the bottom half about a third over the dough, stretch out the sides, and then sprinkle more cinnamon sugar onto that part of the dough. Then we're just going to fold each side over and bring the top part back to the middle. Then just sprinkle again with a little bit more cinnamon sugar, and then we're just going to stitch 2 or 3 times on the top just to pull everything together. And then we're just going to roll this over into our beautiful cylinder shape, and then that's ready for the banneton. Just give a quick little pinch either side just to seal up the dough. And take your bench scraper. Looks good. Throw it into the banneton, then chuck it in the fridge overnight. You can do a little stitch now if you want to, just before. I've done a little one. You don't have to do this. So this is the next day. It's been about 16 hours cold fermenting in the fridge. I'm just going to pop it out the banneton onto a pizza paddle, lined with greaseproof paper. This is just to help get it off the board. I'm going to score it at a 45-degree angle from the front to the back. And I've preheated my oven with my Dutch oven inside at 250 degrees for about half an hour. So I'm just going to pop the dough in the Dutch oven now. Be really careful, obviously it's really hot. Take the lid off, nice and gentle. Just pop that to the side. And then pop your dough in. You see how easy it is with the baking paper. Then I'm going to spray this pretty liberally with water from a spray bottle. This just stops the crust setting too early. Pop the lid back on, and that goes back in the oven at 250 degrees for about 25 minutes. So after 25 minutes, bring the Dutch oven out. Just pop the lid off. I'll give you a quick look at the dough. Looks incredible. And this is going to go back into the oven. I'm going to turn the heat down to 220. I'm going to bake this for 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how dark you like your dough. I like mine quite dark. And then after 15 minutes, we're just going to bring it out and we're done. It smells absolutely incredible. That cinnamon sugar through the centre just smells amazing. I'm just going to pop this onto a wire rack to let it cool for about half an hour. I'll just give you a quick close-up of the dough so you can see it. As you can see, all that sugar's caramelised on the top. If there's any raisins that have kind of popped out and burnt, just feel free to pick them out. As you can see, the crumb looks really nice, really even, air holes, raisins look beautiful. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Come back for more content.